Thank you for joining me. So we're continuing to talk about arithmetic sequences today and writing them. However, today we're going to talk about writing the explicit formula when you're missing terms. All right, now, the first way that we're going to do is the very simple case, is what if you're just missing one term and you want to know that missing term? So what you can actually do is take the average of the numbers around it. So our little handy formula here is if you want to find those missing terms, so you want this number right here, all you have to do is average the numbers around it. So take 12 plus 22 and divide by 2. And when you do that, you should get your missing number is 17. Well, what about this one? 7 plus 1 divided by 2. So 8 divided by 2, my missing number is going to be 4. Now, this only works when you're just missing a single term. Okay, you know the two numbers around it, and you're missing that single term is when you can use this method. Okay, it is the only time you can use this method. Now, for the most part, we're going to need this strategy. So again, the US strategy also only works if you're interested in what the term is. What if I want the formula? So if I want an explicit formula, but I'm not actually given the sequence, I'm just given two of the terms of the sequence. Well, now I need to use that explicit formula to find my missing information. So the first thing you want to do is you want to identify what you know. Well, here, if A1 is 6 and A5 is 18, write the explicit formula. Now, what I have is I have the first term, I have a future term, and I have n. Well, unfortunately, that's not enough information to write my explicit formula. Hopefully, you're asking yourself, well, what about d? Because when we were writing the explicit formulas in the previous lessons, you needed d. Well, that's what we can find. And the way that we're going to find it is actually by using the explicit formula. Okay, you can always find missing information with the explicit formula. So I have a future term. I have 18. Okay, so I take that future term and I plug it in for an. I know what a1 is. A1 is 6. I also know what n is, because if I'm using that 18 as my future term, that means n is 5. So the neat thing here is by plugging in everything I know into the explicit formula, you can see that it's actually pretty simple to find my d. So 5 minus 1 gives me 4, so I have 4d. Well, I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. And now divide by 3. Or sorry, divide by 4 to get 3. So now I know what my d is, okay? I know that d is equal to 3. So now that I have that, now my actual instructions are to write the explicit formula. That's what they actually want me to do. So now I'm going to use that d, and I'm going to write my explicit formula now. So the explicit formula is A1, which is 6. In the actual formula, when I'm writing the formula, remember, n is my variable, okay? So going back to that mentality, that if we're asked to write the formula, n is the variable. So n is what stays in the equation. And this time I know that my d is 3. And that's everything I need to write my formula. So now I'm going to clean this up a little bit. And combine my like terms. 6 minus 3 leaves me a positive 3. And that's the end of my problem. That is my explicit formula. So make sure that you're finishing this, okay? Make sure you don't stop when you find D. Make sure you solve all the way through, actually write the explicit formula for me. I do have one more example for us to step through to make sure that you're fully understanding this. So remember, the first thing we want to do is we want to identify what we know. Well, I know that I have my A1 there. I have a future term, which means for that future term, I'm given an N. So once again, what am I missing? Well, I'm missing D. So I'm going to use my explicit formula, and I'm going to use that to find my D. That's going to be my first step. So I take that future term, I take that 82, and it equals A1, which is 100, plus N minus 1. Well, in this case, I know what that is because I'm using this to find D. I clean this up a little bit. 4 minus 1, well, that's going to give me 3. And now I have to subtract 100 from both sides. I'm trying to get the D by itself. Well, 82 minus 100 is negative 18. Divide both sides by 3, and I get that my D is negative 6. So I have my D now. So what that means is I'm ready to actually write my explicit formula. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to plug that in. So my A1 is still 100. And the explicit formula, remember, N is your variable. N is the thing that you want in there. And you want to be able to plug in D. So I put negative 6 in for D. Now I'm going to clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to distribute that negative 6. Oh, I'm sorry. Now be careful, negative 1 times negative 6 is a positive 6. So I get negative 6n, combine my two like terms, and that is going to be my explicit formula. Remember, your explicit formula always has your n still in it. All right, so thank you for joining me for this. Make sure you have all of this written down and then come and see me if you have any questions.